The most important thing as a business owner or an entrepreneur in 2024 is developing the right AI strategy and figuring out what AI use cases to invest into for your business, for your industry, for the thing that you're trying to bring into the world or grow in the world, right? This isn't a new concept. There's obviously a ton of stuff out there on AI, right? Everyone's talking about it. If you're a business owner, you've heard about AI this for my industry, AI that, AI automation. So there is a huge conversation going on around AI. But the problem with most of the business AI content that's out there right now is that it's only focused on a very small percentage of what's possible with AI. And that's usually low-level automations, right? And those aren't bad, but it's a little short-sighted. And most business owners that I talk to who are thinking about AI or trying to think about AI, some of them are honest. Some of them are like, I don't know. I'm getting pitched by all of these companies that are popping up. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to spend my money. Or there's people who are actively experimenting and trying things, but they haven't really shaped a long-term vision about AI. And then there's some that have really strong and clear vision, but those are very few and far between right now. And what I mean by that is there's obviously like low-level automation of maybe I can improve this little thing in my marketing or improve this little thing in my operations, right? And that's great because as a business owner, as technology improves, you should always be improving your systems and processes to reflect what is possible with the latest technology, right? It's like when email came out and you were using analog mail and then everyone started using email. Well, of course, you need to start using email because you can send a message and instantly receive it versus like send it in the analog mail and wait a couple of days, right? If you don't implement that, you don't start using email when email comes out, like you're at a big disadvantage. And that's kind of what it's like today with automation. There's a lot of things coming out where it's just kind of like, well, we probably should implement that in some way because like email, it's just going to be way better than the stuff we did before. And those use cases, those business automation use cases are super great low-hanging fruit to start with if you're just starting to dip your toes in the water. But again, the problem is that one, there are all these companies popping up in every niche, right? I have a recruiting firm that's a client, been talking to some companies in real estate, lots of different niches. There are tons of companies popping up that are going to pitch you their specific pop-up solution. Like I have AI chatbots for real estate sales and they're going to increase your conversion rates by 20%. If that works, cool, right? But if you get pitched by 20 of those companies every week, how do you know where to spend your money, right? And if you're relying on those companies to shape your vision around AI, to shape your vision of what's going to happen in the future so that you can grow and succeed and have a massive amount of abundance as a business owner or as a leader, you're going to be sorry that you did that in a few years because those companies, they don't have a lot of vision. They see you as one user in their stack of, thousands of users that they're trying to get to so that they can get an exit. Most of these companies are probably trying to get to an exit over the next few years. They're not necessarily trying to help you shape a long-term vision of what's happening in the world and what's happening in your industry and where you need to go. They're going to solve a specific problem for you, but they're not going to shape your vision. And if you don't have vision going into the AI era, right, going into what's coming, not just what exists today, but what's coming, thinking about agentic workflows, thinking about hyper intelligent models, thinking about autonomous organizations that are run almost entirely by AI, thinking about all of these different things that will be possible very soon and will become a standard thing to an extent, depending on what it is very soon. If you're not thinking about those things and you're not developing a vision around the intersection of trends, where the technology is going, where the world is going, your industry, where that's going, where the opportunities are to disrupt it, and what you are trying to bring into the world, then you're just going to be investing money into all these different pop-up AI companies that are going to sell you their template chatbot widget, and you're just going to keep doing the low-level automation stuff, which again is a good thing to do. I want to make that clear. But if that's all you're doing, and then you just keep jumping from one trend to another trend, buy another tool here, buy another tool there, and then hopefully over time, like your company adapts and evolves, you're not going to be as efficient. One, you're going to lose a lot of time. You're going to lose a lot of potential money, potential value that could be captured if you were more strategic from the get-go. And again, your vision is going to be short-sighted, right? Think about the companies at the beginning of the internet who were really seeing where things were going because everyone implemented email. Everyone started using email. That's a given. Email was like the base 5% of what the internet could do. But then there was all these other things, right? Like e-commerce and social networks and networked applications and different forms of interactions and brand experiences and things that could only take place because the internet existed. And it wasn't that every business was shifted to be built around doing something in internet infrastructure or selling digital products or something. No, there's a lot of traditional businesses that adapted to be internet native that were incredibly successful. And then there's those that did it, right? The Sears, the Blockbusters, the ones that had great businesses in the old paradigm, but they didn't realize that, I mean, I'm sure Sears used email, right? Before they went out of business. They definitely implemented the basic stuff, but they didn't have a vision around where their industry was going. They didn't have clarity around what they were trying to do in the internet era. And so they fell off, right? And Sears doesn't exist anymore. So pretty obvious what happened. That's going to continue to happen in the AI era because I really believe that AI is going to be just as impactful as the internet was in a lot of ways. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how to identify the right use cases and develop the right strategy as a business owner around AI. So the first thing is what I just talked about, which is that you have to understand AI as a paradigm shift. You have to understand this as something that is going to change the way, not just the way that we currently do business, which is like the automation conversation that everyone's having, right? Like, how do I automate this or that? That's tweaking things that you're already doing, right? But AI is going to change the way that we think about and do things, right? The internet changed the way that we do business. It automated some stuff or digitized some stuff that was done in the analog fashion. And again, like I mentioned, everyone obviously adapted to some of those basic things, like emails, right? Pretty obvious value. But again, the entire format of the way businesses were built and grown, the way you interact with customers, the way media channels work, all of that shifted in the internet era to a completely different paradigm. And so like if you just focused on making the stuff you were doing pre-internet, like a little bit faster, a little bit more optimized with some internet tools, you missed the boat. You missed the boat entirely. You may have survived, and some people did, and a lot of companies didn't. Or a lot of companies were way behind where they could have been because they just weren't willing to adapt fast enough, or they didn't have a clear vision for where they wanted to go. And that brings me into my second point. So if you want to invest correctly into AI and identify the right use cases for your company, you need to have a vision around where you're going. And if that vision is, I just want to make a ton of money, like I just want to exit for 9 figures and have a ton of money and have a great life with my family, and maybe go do some cool stuff with that money, that's totally fine. Then you're thinking about your business as an asset to grow, and you should treat it like a game and really gamify everything. If your vision is to bring something unique and novel into the world that creates a possible future, right? If you want to contribute, you have a vision of a possible future. Like what if regenerative medicine or holistic care was accessible what if we could integrate the types of thinking in holistic medicine and bring them into a setting that is compatible with Western insurance standards and stuff? Like if you're trying to bring something into the world that is actually unique and you're convicted, you're willing to fight for it, right? There's maybe a little different strategy. So you just have to understand, one, why am I doing what I'm doing? Why am I in the business I'm in? Where am I trying to go? Is it just about money and an exit? Is it a generational wealth thing? I want to have a big asset and a big thing that can support my family for generations. Am I trying to bring something unique into the world? Am I trying to regenerate or bring something really cool into a specific city or community? Am I trying to serve a group of people in a new way? What is the thing that you're doing, right? So, and this should be obvious, but it's really, from my conversations with a lot of people, it's not. And that's okay, right? Like as humans, sometimes we lose sight of our vision. We lose sight of our why. We lose sight of like where we're trying to go. But if we don't know where we're oriented, it's hard to build a good strategy because then the strategy only becomes about optimization. It's hard to innovate if you have no clarity of vision, right? Think about Google. Google used to be one of the most innovative companies in the world. And they had probably the biggest head start on anyone with AI. They acquired DeepMind years ago. They were so far ahead of everyone in AI. They had all the capabilities. There's no reason why anyone should have beaten Google to the ChatGPT moment, right? But Google, internally, they stopped innovating. Their culture became stagnant because they lost sight of their vision. They lost sight of whatever vision they had internally, that, they had this thesis for what the internet could be. And search was a really big part of that thesis, that vision. And that was a big inspiring vision. Like what they created in the internet era really was the backbone of the modern internet in a lot of ways. But then they lost sight of a future vision after they got to a certain point. They're like, okay, we're cool with what we built. Let's keep iterating. Let's operating, create some shareholder value. But they didn't really know where they were going, right? And so because of that, their innovation slowed. And even though they, of all the companies in the world, should have been and should still be the global leader in AI, now they're not. They're not anymore. And not even that. The products that they're releasing, they're laughably bad in some ways. Like the AI models that they've released in the past year, like there's been numerous incidents where they're very obviously not truthful, like they're lying to people and doing it in ways that are funny and comical. But in a sense, it's like, how could someone that really was the backbone of the internet era, that really shaped the modern internet as we know it, be so far off in the next era, in the AI era? They're so far off of where they should be. Like, obviously, we want AI that's truthful. We want AI that is helpful to humans, right? They couldn't even get that basic thing right. So I say all that to say, like, your vision is so important. So that's why with Ascendance, we always start with vision. We always start with what is the vision around, if you're a small company, like we'll often come in at the strategic level and understand what is the vision around your brand. Again, like there's nothing wrong with your vision being a 1-9-figure exit, right? But you got to get clear on what your vision is, why you're doing it. And then from there, we think about strategy. And again, so we've talked about the low-hanging fruit, the automation. You should look at the things in your business that have not been updated for the AI era in obvious ways, and you should automate those things, right? All of your employees should be using ChatGPT at this point. You should probably have some chatbots somewhere in your company, especially if you're interacting with any kind of customers, you're doing any kind of sale, you're training salespeople, training internal employees. You should have your own custom models, maybe some chatbots and interfaces. And like that's baseline. You should just be doing that because of the time that we're in. And if you don't do that, you're behind. So that's like the first 10% of the strategy. How do we get you to baseline of where you should be right now to continue being competitive in whatever industry you're in? And then we look at, okay, now that we know you're going, why are you trying to go there, you personally, as well as your company. Then we look at, well, how do we leverage AI and what's happening, the trends that are emerging to help you get there faster, help you get there more efficiently, or grow you exponentially, or how to bring the thing that you're trying to bring into the world in a new way, in an innovative way. How do we shift it? Sometimes it's a little shift and sometimes it's an entire paradigm shift. Like sometimes we need to build a completely different business model from within your existing business, because like the model that you're currently operating under, it's going to be obsolete. And so we need to totally shift you to a different paradigm like now, right? Sometimes that's service-based businesses that productize their service, turn their service that isn't scalable, that's taking up their time, they're paying time, they're trading time for money. Sometimes it's turning that into a product or a hybrid version of such. And we've done that with a few companies. Sometimes it's figuring out, okay, like I'm in this old school industry and my goal is an exit. My goal is to create a lot of wealth so I could, donate to my church community or like just have a great life and be able to do the cool things that I want to do in the world. Awesome. So how can we get you there most efficiently? Well, you have a specific vantage point into an industry. You're doing something unique and valuable in that industry. You're actually uniquely positioned to disrupt that industry. We might be able to identify some specific AI use cases. And I talked about all these pop-up AI companies earlier that are like chatbot for your niche or sales for this niche, right? Like, but if you're actually working in an industry and you know what the pain points are, like, there's a lot of stuff in healthcare, right? Like different aspects of healthcare. There's a lot of aspects of healthcare, like people working on specific portions of it that, obviously see how backwards and slow that industry is to change. And they have a specific set of expertise where they're actually well positioned to bring something cool into the market that could solve a real problem for someone, or that could really actually change an aspect of how healthcare is done in a specific space in a meaningful way. And so like we'll try to identify those things together and help you see 3 years, 5 years, this is what's coming, this is what you're trying to do, and this is what you're good at. And we've covered the automation stuff. So what's the strategy to innovate? We've automated, now how do we innovate and how do we grow? Those are the two sides of it, really, the growth and the innovation, right? And so there are short-term, there are medium-term, and there are long-term opportunities. The short-term opportunities are mostly automation. The medium-term opportunities are a lot of growth and a lot of innovation, mixes of both. And in a lot of different cases. So it could be, new products, new softwares, new technologies, custom models for your business, agents, like starting to experiment with agents. All of that is kind of a short to medium term opportunity. And then the long term opportunities are mostly innovation, building things from a different paradigm, building things for your space that couldn't have existed without AI technology. Just like telehealth couldn't have existed without the internet, what are the things for your spaces that could not exist without current or future AI technology? Because we're not just building for today, we're building for 3, 5, maybe even longer out for the technology that is going to be viable soon, right? We're skating to where the puck is going. So if you're looking at your business, you understand your personal vision, you understand why you're doing what you're doing, you understand your company's vision, you understand where it's going and what the outcomes you're looking for are. And then you have your short-term AI strategy, your medium-term AI strategy, which is the short term is more growth, automation. The medium term is growth and innovation. The long term is innovation, innovation, innovation. Then you're pretty well set to be able to figure out where to invest your time and where to invest your resources. And I would encourage you to think about and start developing these thought processes and think about your short, medium, and long-term AI strategy. And before all that, obviously have your vision really solid and understand where you're going, why you're going there, what outcomes you're trying to get from this business. And from there, like you're going to be well positioned to make investments. You're going to be well positioned to build technology, whether that's internally or with a partner like us. But I would really encourage you, if you're looking for help or if you're looking for support on developing an AI strategy, finding use cases, please either bring someone internally who really can help you with strategic vision and the things that we've discussed here, or work with a company, and we're one, there's others, but Ascendance is an option. Work with a company that is focused on helping you with a long-term strategic vision, not an AI company that is just focused on one specific use case. Again, you can buy a tool that's fine. That may be a good option in some cases, but don't rely on these short-term pop-up AI companies for your vision. You need to take ownership of it, or you need to work with people who are really going to help you in it. And their job is, their stated purpose is to help you develop a strategic vision. If you really want to grow, you really want to innovate, you really want to get the most out of what's possible for you over the next 5 to 10 years in this AI era.